I still remember the evening that changed something deep inside me. It was quiet in the house, the kind of quiet that makes you notice every breath, every heartbeat, every tiny sound of a clock on the wall. The sun was going down, and a soft orange light was falling across the living room. I was sitting by the window, waiting for a message from my son. It was my birthday. I had turned another year older, but I did not feel older. I only felt a little more lonely, a little more thoughtful, and a little more grateful for the small moments that life still offered me. That evening, my daughter-in-law walked into the room. She looked tired, or maybe she looked annoyed. I could not tell. Her eyes did not stay on me for long. "There's a delivery outside," she said. "It has your name on it." Her voice was plain, almost cold. But I smiled. I always try to smile. "Thank you," I replied gently. I walked slowly to the door and picked up the small box left by the courier. When I saw the name of the sender, my hands froze for a second. It was from my son. My heart warmed. I felt a soft ache inside my chest, the kind of ache that brings both happiness and sadness together. I had not seen him for months. He lived in another city, busy with work, busy with life, busy with things he never explained but always apologized for. I held the box carefully, as if it were made of glass. My daughter-in-law stood near the kitchen counter, watching me with a strange expression. I could not read it. "What is it?" she asked. "It's for my son," I said with quiet joy. "Maybe a gift. Maybe just a small thing." When I opened the box, I saw chocolates. My favorite ones. The same brand he used to buy for me when he was a child. I felt tears filling my eyes, but I blinked them back. I didn't want anyone to see. I didn't want to look emotional or weak. There was also a small note inside. It said, "Happy birthday, Amy. I miss you. I know I don't say it enough, but I think of you every day. I hope these chocolates make you smile. I will call you tonight." My fingers touched the words as if I could feel him through the paper. I whispered, "Thank you, Beta." But before I could hold that moment close to my heart, my daughter-in-law said something that quietly pushed a crack through that feeling. "You shouldn't eat chocolates," she said without looking at me. "Remember your sugar? Doctor said you should avoid these things." I nodded gently. "Yes, he did." "Then give them away," she added. "It's not good for you." I looked at the chocolates again. They were not just chocolates. They were a memory, a hug, a message, a connection from far away. But she was right. I did have sugar problems. I could not deny that. I closed the box very slowly, almost with a sense of grief, and I walked toward her with a soft smile. "Here," I said. "You can keep them. You like chocolates, don't you?" She looked surprised, maybe confused. "Me?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. "You're young. You can enjoy them better than I can." I extended the box to her with both hands. She took it. Hesitating for a second, I tried to smile again. Even though it hurt somewhere deep inside, I did not give her the chocolates because she told me I gave them to her, because I didn't want her to feel that I was holding on to something she didn't approve of. I gave them because I wanted peace in the house. I gave them because I loved my son. And I didn't want any trouble that might hurt him, but a part of me felt like something small inside me broke that day, not loudly, not visibly, just a quiet little crack. When she walked away with the box, the house fell silent again. The light outside had dimmed. I sat back down by the window. I whispered softly to myself, "Happy birthday, old woman." But after that, something unexpected happened. She did not offer me even one piece, not even a polite gesture, not even a "would you like to taste one?" She went into her room, closed the door, and I heard the crinkling sound of wrappers. I sat alone in the warm light of the sunset, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something heavy in my chest, a sadness mixed with a strange acceptance. Life had changed, my home had changed, my relationships had changed, and maybe I had changed too. The next morning, I woke early as always. Old habits don't leave easily. I made tea for the house. I tried to keep my steps light, so I wouldn't disturb anyone. My daughter-in-law came out later, stretching, yawning, looking at her phone. She didn't greet me, but I greeted her. "Good morning," I said softly. She nodded without lifting her eyes. I placed a cup of tea on the table for her. She didn't thank me. She never did. Maybe she didn't think she needed to. Maybe she had grown used to these small acts of care that I offered every day, that I didn't mind. At least, I told myself I didn't. After a while, she said, "Your son called last night." My heart skipped. I didn't hear the phone. You were in the bathroom. He said he would call again in the evening. I nodded. Thank you for telling me. She opened the fridge, took out the same chocolate box, now almost empty. She ate one piece while scrolling through her phone, and I looked away. I didn't want to watch. The house smelled like tea and quietness. I washed the dishes slowly, thinking about how time had changed everything. I thought about the days when my son was small, running around the house, laughing, talking nonstop, telling me everything about his day. I remembered how he used to hide chocolates in his school bag for me, saying, "Amy, I got these for you." Those memories still felt warm, warmer than the present. But I didn't want to complain, and I didn't want to think badly about her. I didn't want to speak a word that could bring trouble, because trouble in a home spreads fast. It starts with whispers, then becomes tension, then grows into something bigger, something that hurts everyone. I didn't want that. I only wanted peace. Even if that peace came at the cost of swallowing my own hurt. Hours passed before my son called again. When I heard his voice, my eyes softened instantly. "Amy," he said with excitement. "Did you get the chocolates?" "Yes," I said. "Thank you, Beta. They made me very happy." "Good. Did you eat them?" I hesitated. A silence filled the call for a moment. "I gave them to your wife," I said gently. "She said I shouldn't eat sweets." "Oh," he replied. "Well, if it's for your health, then it's fine." His voice changed slightly. Maybe he felt uncomfortable. Maybe he didn't want to talk more. I didn't blame him. "How are you, Beta?" I asked. "Busy, Amy," he replied. "Work is heavy these days. I'll try to visit soon." That soon always came but never arrived. "It's okay," I said. "Take your time. I'm fine." We spoke for a few more minutes. Then the call ended, and with it, the small warmth that had entered the room faded again. The next few days were similar, quiet, slow, filled with small duties and small moments that nobody really noticed. I cooked. I cleaned. I helped where I could. I stayed out of the way where I felt I should. But something inside me kept thinking about that birthday evening, not about the chocolates, not even about the note, but about the feeling of giving something away that was meant for me and not being offered even a single piece in return. And I kept telling myself it did not matter, but it did, not because of the sweet, but because of the meaning behind it, and why daughter-in-law's behavior toward me had been changing slowly over the months. A few small comments here and there, a few careless expressions, a few moments of cold silence, a few times she avoided answering me, a few times she spoke to me as if I were an inconvenience. These small things grow like drops filling a cup. One day, the cup becomes full. One day, a drop falls and spills something inside you that I didn't know then, but this was only the beginning. The beginning of a story I never thought would be mine, a story filled with silent pain, gentle strength, and a lesson I would learn only after losing something precious, a story that still sits in my heart. Days passed, and the house continued its usual rhythm. Quiet steps, gentle clinks of dishes, soft hums of daily chores. Life in a home often looks peaceful from the outside, but sometimes the silence inside carries stories that no one sees. I try to keep the atmosphere light. I try to stay helpful, calm, and patient. But slowly I began to notice more signs. Small signs. And small signs often mean bigger things growing underneath. One morning, my daughter-in-law walked into the kitchen while I was warming the tea. She looked irritated. Not loudly irritated, just something in the way she held her shoulders, in the way she avoided eye contact. "We're running low on groceries," she said. I nodded. "Yes, I noticed. I can go and get them." She sighed as if I had said something wrong. "No, you don't need to go alone. Just make a list. I'll handle it." I smiled politely. "Of course. I will write everything." When I handed her the list, she glanced at it for only a second before saying, "You add too many things. Half of these are unnecessary." My heart sank a little. "These are just basics," I said softly. "Flour, rice, lentils, tea." "I know how to run a house," she interrupted. "I don't need advice." I lowered my eyes immediately. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Just next time, ask me first," she said. I nodded. But inside, a small hurt flickered. I wasn't trying to take control of anything. I wasn't trying to interfere. I only wanted the house to run smoothly. I only wanted to help. But help, when misunderstood, becomes something else. She left the kitchen without another word. I stood there for a moment, staring at the boiling tea, feeling something shift inside me. a small, quiet sadness. Over the next weeks, I noticed how often she spoke to me with short words, with less patience, with less warmth. At first, I told myself she must be stressed, or tired, or maybe dealing with her own problems. But then I started seeing patterns. She didn't like when I folded the clothes. She didn't like when I swept the floor. She didn't like when I cooked dishes I had cooked all my life. She didn't like when I talked to my son for too long on the phone. She didn't like when I turned on the fan in the living room. Everything small became something wronged. I felt like a guest in my own home, a guest who had to walk carefully, speak carefully, breathe carefully. One evening, as I was setting the table for dinner, she said something that stayed with me. "You don't have to arrange the plates." "I will do it," she said sharply. "I'm only helping," I replied. "I didn't ask for help," she said. "Sometimes your way creates more work for me." I stepped back. My hands felt cold. My son came home later that night, and when he saw the tension in the room, he asked gently, "Is everything okay?" Before I could speak, she answered quickly, "Of course. Everything is fine." I looked at her face. She smiled at him gently, but her eyes didn't hold the same warmth. My son didn't ask more. He trusted her words. And I didn't want to break the peace by saying anything that I stayed silent. Silence can feel like peace, but sometimes it feels like loneliness in disguise. One afternoon, I was sitting in the living room when I heard her talking on the phone in the kitchen. Her voice carried through the quiet house. "I don't know how long this will continue," she whispered. "She's always around. It's annoying. I need space. I can't relax in my own home." My heart froze. Was she talking about me? She lowered her voice, but a few words still reached me. "I told him we need privacy. Yes, I'm trying, but she doesn't understand." My fingers tightened around the edge of my shawl. My chest felt heavy, as if someone had placed a stone on it. I didn't want to hear more. I slowly stood up and walked to my room, trying not to make any noise. I sat on the bed and closed my eyes. I knew I wasn't perfect. I knew I was older, slower, quieter. I knew I didn't always fit into their modern way of living, but I didn't think I was a burden, or was I? The question began to sit inside my mind like a seed that would later grow into something bigger. A few days later, another small incident added another drop to my overflowing heart. It was raining that evening. Light rain, soft and steady. The kind of rain that makes everything look calm, even when your heart is not. I was in the kitchen making tea, the warmth of the stove comforting me in the cool ard. My daughter-in-law walked in, looked at the tea and frowned. "Why did you make tea?" I was about to make some for my husband. I reached for a second cup. "I can make one for both of you." "No," she said sharply. "You don't know how he likes it. I'll do it myself." "But Beta, please," she cut me off. "Just sit somewhere. I'll handle the kitchen." Her tone wasn't angry. It was dismissive. Dismissal hurts more than anger sometimes. I stepped out of the kitchen quietly and sat near the window, listening to the rain. The tea I had made was still on the stove. I wondered if she would throw it away. A few minutes later, my son came home. I heard him laugh as she greeted him warmly. Then I heard her say, "I made tea for you." I looked toward the kitchen door. The tea I had made, she had poured it into the sink. I saw the steam disappear as the liquid disappeared down the drain, and I don't know why, but that moment felt like something inside me washed away too. My efforts, my cared, my presence, my small joys, my memories of being needed. Everything felt like it was slowly being removed, like drops of water fading on a stone. That night, when my son sat beside me for a moment, I asked softly, "Are you happy, Beta?" He smiled. "Yes, Amy. Everything is good. Why do you ask?" "No reason," I said. "Just wanted to hear your voice." He didn't notice the quiet sadness behind my smile, or maybe he noticed but didn't know how to ask. Men sometimes see things but choose silence because they don't want conflict. I didn't want conflict either. Two silences lived under the same roof, his silence and mine. The days continued, and the emotional distance in the house grew, not loudly, not in the form of arguments, not in the form of open disrespect. Just through small things, a look aside, a comment, a closed door, a tray taken away from my hands, a meal cooked again, even if I had already cooked it. A conversation between them that stopped when I entered the room. I started spending more time in my own room, reading old letters, looking at old photos, organizing small things just to stay busy. My hands worked, but my heart wandered. Sometimes I wondered, Was I truly becoming a burden? Was I holding them back from their own life? Was my presence suffocating her? I didn't want to feel unwanted. But slowly, that feeling began to grow inside me. One day, something happened that marked the beginning of the rising conflict. Not a big fight. Not a loud moment. Just another small drop, bigger than the others. It was a Sunday morning. My son was home. My daughter-in-law was cleaning the living room. I came out of my room and saw dust on the bookshelf. Let me clean it, I thought. At least I can do this. I picked up a cloth and wiped the shelf gently. She noticed me. Why are you touching this? She asked. I'm only helping, I replied softly. I told you many times to leave things the way they are, she said. You move my arrangements. It bothers me. I didn't move anything, I whispered. Yes, you did, she said, her tone sharper now. Please. Just sit. Don't touch things. My son came out of his room at that moment, hearing her raised voice. What happened? He asked. Before I could answer, she said, she keeps touching things after I clean. It creates extra work. My son looked at me. Did I look down? Amy, he said gently. Maybe just relax. Let her manage. Something inside my chest tightened, not because of his words, but because he didn't see the full picture. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I whispered. My daughter-in-law sighed loudly, picked up the cloth from my hand, and placed it back on the shelf with more force than needed. I'll do it, she said, and I stepped back slowly, feeling like I no longer belonged in any corner of the house. My son didn't say anything more. He didn't scold her. He didn't defend me. He simply walked away, and so did. Back in my room, I sat on the bed, holding the edge of my shawl. My hands trembled slightly. For the first time, a new thought entered my mind, a thought I had never allowed before. Maybe I should leave. Maybe they truly need space. Maybe my presence is a problem. Maybe my time here is over, and I should not hold on to a place where hearts don't welcome me anymore. This thought scared me, but it also felt strangely peaceful, sometimes. The idea of stepping away from a place that hurts you brings a quiet relief, a relief mixed with sadness, but still relief. I closed my eyes, and for the first time, a small tear escaped without my permission. It fell silently, like everything else in my life. I didn't know it then, but the turning point was getting closer. To a moment that would change everything, to a moment that would break the last thread holding me in that house, to a moment that would begin with something as simple as packing a small bag. But that is for the next part. The house was quiet the next morning. A stillness filled the air, the kind of stillness that feels heavier than silence. I woke before everyone, as usual, and sat by the window with my cup of warm water. The sky outside was gray, and it looked like it might rain again. Somehow, rainy days always touched my heart in a deeper way. They brought memories alive. They made old feelings rise to the surface. I thought about everything that had happened these past weeks. The small hurts, the quiet dismissals, the moments when I felt invisible. I told myself again and again that I should be patient, that I should be understanding, that maybe I was overthinking. But my heart didn't believe my words anymore. Sometimes the heart sees what the eyes try to ignore. As the morning light slowly filled the house, I decided to clean my room. Not because it needed cleaning, but because my thoughts needed something gentle to hold on to. I folded my clothes carefully, dusted the small shelf, and opened the wooden drawer where I kept my old letters. My son's handwriting stared back at me from one of the envelopes. I touched the paper softly. There was a time when I used to receive letters full of love, full of stories, full of little details about his life. Now, those words had turned into short calls, rushed conversations, and long pauses filled with things he didn't say. I didn't blame him. Life changes, people change, relationships change, but the heart still remembers. That afternoon, my daughter-in-law asked me to help fold the laundry. I was relieved. It felt nice to be asked for something. I sat beside her, trying to keep my movements slow and careful so she wouldn't feel irritated. We folded shirts, towels, and bedsheets quietly. But then, without looking up, she said something that made the cloth slip from my hands. Ani, don't mind, but you should think about going to your sister's place for some time. I froze, and my voice felt stuck in my throat. Why? I asked softly. She shrugged. No reason. Just, you've been here for long, and we need some space. It would be good for everyone. Good for everyone. The words echoed in my mind. I felt something sharp but silent inside me, like a needle piercing a soft corner of the heart. I didn't know I was disturbing. I whispered. She let out a small breath. You're not disturbing. It's just that this is our home. Our life. You're always here, and sometimes it feels heavy. Heavy to me? Heavy, my fingers trembled as I folded a shirt. I'm sorry if I made things difficult, I said quietly. She didn't respond. She continued folding, her eyes fixed on the clothes, not on me. A long moment passed, a long, painful moment. Then she added, please don't tell this to my husband. He won't understand. And I don't want any issues. My heart sank deeper. She didn't want trouble. Neither did I, but the trouble was already living inside me. I won't say anything, I whispered. Good, she said calmly. Think about it. Maybe stay there for a month or two. It will help us adjust. Adjust? Adjust to what? To a life without me? I lowered my head. Yes, I'll think about it. I stayed in my room for the rest of the afternoon. I didn't want to cry, where anyone could see. I sat on the corner of my bed, holding the pillow tightly. I tried to breathe slowly, but the ache inside me felt heavy. Was I really such a burden? Was my presence so difficult for her? Had I stayed too long? Was my love no longer welcome? I touched the edge of my shawl and whispered to myself, maybe I should leave. But leaving meant more than just packing a bag. Leaving meant accepting that I didn't belong here anymore. Leaving meant accepting that the home I once believed was mine wasn't mine at all. Still, somewhere deep inside, the thought of leaving brought a strange calmness. Maybe giving them space was the right thing. Maybe my absence would bring them peace. But my heart cried quietly. Because no mother wants to leave her child's home. And no mother wants to feel unwanted. That evening, when my son returned from work, I acted normal. I smiled. I asked about his day. I served dinner. I listened to him talk. I watched how warmly he spoke to his wife. I noticed how the house felt like theirs, not mine, but my daughter-in-law's words kept echoing in my mind. You should think about going to your sister's place. My son didn't notice my quietness that night, or maybe he noticed, but he thought I was tired. After dinner, he went to his room. She followed him, and their door closed softly. I sat alone at the dining table. The lights were dim. The clock ticked slowly. I rested my hands on the table and whispered, maybe it's time. Maybe my presence is not needed. Maybe I should go. The thought hurt, but it also felt like the truth. A few days passed with the same heavy silence between us. She didn't bring up the topic again, but the distance had grown. I felt it in every corner of the house. One morning, I decided to call my sister. I hadn't visited her in years. Hello, she answered with her warm voice. I felt tears rise suddenly, just from hearing her tone, but I spoke calmly. Sister, I was thinking of visiting you for some time. She sounded surprised. That is wonderful.
Come anytime.
My home is always open for you. Her kindness broke something inside me. The welcome I didn't receive here, I received easily from her. Thank you, I whispered. When will you come? She asked. Maybe in a few days. She talked excitedly for a while, sharing small stories. I listened quietly, letting her voice fill the empty space in my heart. When the call ended, I sat with the phone in my hands for a long time. I had made the decision that I would leave, not because I wanted to, but because staying had become painful. That afternoon, while my daughter-in-law was in the kitchen, I walked in slowly. Beta, I said gently. I spoke to my sister. I will visit her soon. She turned, looking surprised for a moment. Then relief appeared in her eyes, though she tried to hide it. Oh, she said. That's good. It will be a nice change for you. Her words didn't hurt as much as her expression did. Yes, I replied. A change will be good. When will you go? She asked. Maybe this weekend. She nodded quickly. Okay. Tell me if you need help packing. Packing? The word felt heavy. No, I can manage, I said softly. All right. She continued cooking. I stood there for a moment, hoping she would say something else. Something small, something warm, but she didn't. I walked back to my room, carrying the quiet with me. That evening, my son came home. He looked tired but cheerful. We had dinner together. He talked about his office. She talked about her day, and I spoke very little. After dinner, while she was washing dishes, I approached my son. Beta, I said quietly, I need to tell you something. He looked up concerned. What is it, Amy? I am thinking of going to my sister's place.
For a little while.
He blinked.
Why?
Everything okay? Yes, I lied softly. I just feel like visiting her. It's been years. He nodded slowly. If you want, you can go. But you don't have to. You know that, right? I smiled gently, just a smile hiding a storm. I know, Beta. He hugged me briefly, then went to his room. He didn't ask deeper questions. He didn't see the sadness in my eyes. He didn't sense the quiet pain behind my words. But maybe that was my fault. I had always taught him not to worry, not to burden him with my feelings, not to make trouble. So he believed my smile. Even when it was breaking, that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft ticking of the wall clock. Everything around me felt familiar, yet I felt like a stranger among my own memories. I whispered to myself, it's time. It's time to step away. I closed my eyes and tried to calm my heart, but little did I know the turning point. The moment that would break me completely was coming soon, and it would begin with something as simple as packing my bag. 2 days later, I started folding my clothes quietly. I didn't want to worry anyone. I didn't want to make a scene. I placed a few saris on the bed, some daily clothes, my shawl, and the small box of memories, letters, old photos, tiny things my son made for me when he was little. As I packed, I felt each item carry a story, a memory, a piece of my heart. Just then, my daughter-in-law walked into my room without knocking. She looked at the half-packed bag and said, "Oh, you started already." I nodded.
Yes.
Just preparing. She stepped closer, looked at the small box of memories, and said, "Why are you taking that dusty old box? You can throw those things away." Her words hit me harder than she realized. "These are memories," I whispered, "of my son's childhood." She shrugged. "They're old. You don't need them anymore." I held the box protectively. "These, I will take." She didn't argue. She just nodded and walked out, but the pain stayed because she didn't understand what that box meant to me. She didn't understand that these small things were the only treasures my heart still held close. That night, something happened that I will never forget, something that shattered the last bit of strength inside me. But that moment belongs in the next part, because that moment changed everything forever. When I walked back home that evening, after meeting Raheem and letting out the tears I had carried for so long, the street felt different. It was the same road, the same houses, the same soft orange light from the setting sun. But something inside me had changed. I was not completely healed. I was not suddenly strong. But I felt a little lighter, as if a small stone had been removed from the large weight on my chest. When I reached the house, the lights were on. I could hear soft voices from inside. My son and daughter-in-law seemed to be talking about something. I closed the gate quietly and walked towards the door. For a moment, I stood still. I felt a strange feeling, not fear exactly, but a quiet uncertainty. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. My daughter-in-law was in the kitchen, washing dishes. My son was sitting on the sofa, scrolling on his phone. He looked up immediately when he saw me. "There you are," he said softly. His tone surprised me. It was gentle, not irritated. Not distant. I nodded. "Yes, I went for a little walk." My daughter-in-law came out of the kitchen. She wiped her hands on her apron. We looked at each other for a moment. For the first time in months, her eyes did not look cold. There was something in them, maybe guilt, maybe confusion, maybe softness. I could not tell. "I saved dinner for you," she said quietly. Her voice did not carry the usual sharpness. It felt like a small olive branch, a small gesture to show she was not angry. "Thank you," I replied with a gentle smile as I walked to my room. I placed the folded letter on the side table. I sat on the bed and let out another slow breath. For years, I had pushed down so many feelings that I forgot how to breathe like a normal person. But today, each breath felt a little easier. After a few minutes, my son knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Of course," I said. He sat beside me on the bed. He looked uncomfortable, as if he wanted to say something but didn't know how to start. "Are you okay?" he asked. I looked at him. Really looked at him. His face was tired, his shoulders heavy. He was my son, but somehow he looked like a stranger who had forgotten who he used to be. "I am trying to be," I answered softly. He lowered his head. I know things haven't been good. I know we haven't treated you the way we should have." I didn't interrupt. I let him speak. He continued. "I don't know how we reached this point. Maybe life got busy. Maybe we stopped noticing the small things. Maybe we thought you were strong, and you didn't need anything." His voice cracked slightly at the last sentence. I placed my hand on his. You are my son, I said. All I ever wanted was love. Not gifts, not money, not grand things. Just love. He nodded slowly. I know. And I'm sorry, Mama. That single word, Mama, touched something in my chest. These days, he rarely used it. Hearing it again felt like a warm hand touching a wound. He looked at my face and asked, Where did you go? You looked upset when you left. I hesitated for a moment. I didn't want to make him feel worse. I didn't want to blame him or remind him of moments he already regretted. I met an old friend, I said. We talked. He seemed relieved. Good. You should go out more. Meet people. Do things you like. I smiled. Maybe I will. He squeezed my hand before leaving the room, but as soon as he left, silence filled the space again. A gentle silence, not the painful one I was used to later that night. When I sat at the dining table to eat my dinner, my daughter-in-law joined me. She didn't say much at first. She just quietly put extra roti on my plate. After a few minutes of silence, she spoke. Today, when you left the house, I thought you were angry, she said, and I shook my head.
No.
I don't get angry easily. I know, she replied. That's why I felt strange. You never show anger, even when you should. I looked at her carefully. She seemed honest, not defensive. She continued, I've been thinking, maybe I sometimes talk too directly. Maybe I say things without thinking. I didn't mean to hurt you. Her voice softened. You have always been kind to me, she said quietly. And I haven't appreciated it. I didn't blame her. I didn't say, yes, you hurt me. I didn't make her feel guilty. Instead, I simply said, we are family. We learn. She looked down, nodded, and whispered, thank you. Through the kitchen window, the moonlight was falling softly. The whole house felt calmer, almost peaceful. Not perfect, not healed, but gentler. As the days passed, small changes began to happen. Not big dramatic ones. Not miracles. Just small, meaningful steps. My daughter-in-law started knocking before entering my room. My son started sitting with me for a few minutes each morning, even if he was in a hurry. They began asking if I needed anything when they went to the market. They invited me to sit with them during tea time. These things might look small to the world, but to a lonely heart, they were forests of love. One afternoon, my daughter-in-law came to my room holding a small box. These were in the cupboard, she said. They're the birthday chocolates my husband bought for you. They're still good. I kept them safe. I looked at the box for a long moment. I gave them to you. I reminded her softly. She nodded. I know. And I was rude that day. I didn't understand what you were feeling. She placed the box in front of me. Please keep them, she whispered. They are yours. I placed my hand on hers. It's okay, I said. Chocolates don't matter.
Hatches do.
She blinked and swallowed hard, as if stopping a tear. Days turned into weeks. Our relationship didn't become perfect, but it became real. Softer. More aware. More respectful. We started talking openly, not with fear or hesitation. We treated each other like human beings, not like burdens or outsiders. One evening, it started raining heavily. The soft tapping on the roof filled the house. My daughter-in-law was in the kitchen, making tea. My son came home from work, tired but smiling. He sat beside me on the sofa and said, "Come outside for a moment." I followed him to the porch. We stood there together, watching the rain fall. "Mama," he said quietly, "I know I fail sometimes, but I don't want you to feel unwanted ever again." My throat tightened. He continued, "This is your home. You're not staying here out of helplessness. You're staying because you are family." Tears filled my eyes, warm, gentle tears that I nodded. "Thank you, my son." He put his arm around me, something he hadn't done in many years, and my daughter-in-law joined us with 3 cups of hot tea. She handed one to me with a soft smile. For the first time, it felt like a real family moment. A moment where no one felt like an outsider. A moment where hearts were close, not cold. Later that night, as I lay in bed, I thought about Raheem. I thought about the letter I had written but never read aloud. I thought about the chocolates, the silence, the loneliness, and the slow healing that had begun. Life had not given me everything I wanted, but it had given me something precious, a chance to heal, a chance to forgive, a chance to rebuild. Not with anger, not with blame, but with softness. And perhaps that was enough. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. The house was quiet, still wrapped in the soft warmth of dawn. I sat by the window and looked outside. The rain had stopped, and the world looked washed and clean, as if even the sky had cried a little with me. I wrapped a shawl around my shoulders and watched the birds hop across the wet ground. For a long time, I simply sat there breathing, thinking, remembering. So many moments had passed in this house, some painful, some lonely, some full of hidden tears. But now, for the first time in a long while, I felt a quiet peace inside me. A peace that did not come from others changing, but from me finally understanding my own heart. I picked up the folded letter that still lay on my bedside table. The letter I wrote to myself, the one I never meant to send. I opened it again and read it slowly. But this time, the words did not hurt. They felt gentle, like an old friend holding my hand. When I finished reading, I folded it neatly and placed it in the drawer. I did not throw it away. I did not hide it. I simply kept it close, as a reminder of the day I finally told the truth to my own heart. After a while, I went to the kitchen. My daughter-in-law was already there, preparing breakfast. She smiled softly when she saw me. "Good morning," she said. Her voice had changed over the weeks.
Softer. Kinder.
More mindful. "Good morning," I replied. She poured me a cup of tea without me asking and placed it in front of me. As we sat together, she said, "I've been thinking a lot about how I acted, about how things were. And I want you to know, I want our home to feel like your home too." I looked at her, not with shock, but with a quiet warmth. "I know you're trying," I said gently. "And that means a lot." She nodded slowly. "I'm learning. I didn't grow up with elders in my home. I didn't know how to behave. I didn't know how much small words can hurt." I reached across the table and touched her hand. "It's okay," I said. "We all learn. We all grow." My son joined us a few minutes later. He looked at both of us sitting together, and a soft relief spread across his face. "Seeing you both like this," he said, "it makes me happy." We ate breakfast in silence, but it was a warm silence, a comforting one, the kind of silence that belongs to people who finally see each other. Later that day, I opened the small box of chocolates he had sent me for my birthday. I took one piece and placed it on my tongue. It melted slowly, sweet and gentle. And for the first time, it tasted exactly the way it should, full of love, full of memory, full of meaning. That I smiled, not because the chocolate was delicious, but because I finally felt loved, not perfectly, not constantly, but enough. And sometimes, enough is everything. As days turned into weeks, I noticed my heart changing. I was no longer afraid of being unwanted. I no longer counted the times I was ignored or overlooked. Instead, I counted the little moments that made life soft. The cup of tea placed quietly beside me, the evening walks with my son, the warm good night from my daughter-in-law, the family meals where no one felt like a stranger. One evening, as the sun set in a gentle golden shade, I sat in the courtyard and closed my eyes. I let the breeze touch my face. I let my heart rest. And in that moment, I understood something important. We cannot force people to love us, but we can teach them how to love us, not with loudness, but with patience, not with anger, but with gentleness, not with expectations, but with small acts of truth. Life does not always give us perfect relationships, but it gives us chances to heal, chances to forgive, chances to try again. And I took that chance. That I chose softness over bitterness. That I chose peace over pride. That I chose hope over hurt. Now, when I look at my son and daughter-in-law, I don't see the people who once made me cry. I see human hearts, imperfect, learning, trying. Just like mine, my journey is not finished. My story is not perfect, but my heart is finally at ease. And today, if someone asks me what I learned from all of this, I would simply say, love grows where patience lives, hearts heal where understanding begins, and families become families when even the smallest kindness is allowed to bloom.